Hello. Welcome to the Thursday evening edition of Bedtime Stories, virtual bedtime stories in the Assembly. It's good to see you guys. We'll wait and see if a few more people join, and then we'll get started. We're going to try to get through 3 more chapters tonight. It will be chapters 8, 9, and 10. And then tomorrow night we'll finish out with the last 2 chapters, 11 and 12. So, how is everyone tonight? It's been another rainy and dreary day here in our part of Ohio, hasn't it? Yeah. It really has. Yeah, still rainy and kind of yucky here. Hopefully there are sunnier days ahead. Anyone been up to anything interesting today? No? Nothing too interesting? Well, hopefully the sun will come out by this weekend, I'm hoping. Just a little bit of sunshine would be nice. All right, guys. Well, we've got some on here now, so I think we'll go ahead and start our chapters for tonight. Like I said, there are 3 chapters tonight, chapters 8, 9, and 10, and we will get through those, and then we will we'll have 2 chapters left for tomorrow night to finish it out. All right. Hello. All right, guys, here we go. Remember, we are continuing Judy Blume's Superfudge, and this is read with permission from Yearling Books, which is a part of Random House Books. So we want to thank them very much for letting us read this. Here we go. Chapter 8. It's called Naturally Fortified. I want to be a ghost for Halloween, Fudge said. A scary, scary ghost. I think we can arrange that, Mom said. She was feeding Tootsie purple mush from a jar. Tootsie lets half of every spoonful ooze right back out of her mouth, so that Mom has to scrape it off her face and start all over again. It takes 3 tries to finish off 1 baby spoonful. Feeding Tootsie can be an all-day project. What about you, Peter? Mom asked. What do you want to be for Halloween? 6th graders don't wear costumes, I said. Really? Mom said. When I was in the 6th grade, that was a long time ago, I said, interrupting her. 100 years or more? Fudge asked. Not quite, Mom told him. What's Tootsie going to be for Halloween? Fudge asked. A baby, I told him. Ha ha, Peter, Fudge said, laughing. You're funny. Every time Fudge laughs, Tootsie laughs too. And when she laughs with her mouth full, she really makes a mess. So now she has plums all over her face, plums drooling down to her bib, plums stuck in her hair, and plums covering her rattle, which she bangs on her tray as she laughs. Turtle hangs around when Mom feeds Tootsie. He's developed a taste for baby food. Mom says it isn't good for him. He needs to chew up hard food to exercise his teeth and jaws. And once a week, I give him a special tablet to help his breath. Lately, he has had the worst dog breath. I'm glad Sheila Tubman isn't around to tell me how bad my dog smells, because this time she'd be right. Fudge says Turtle should rinse twice a day with Precious Breath, this new blue mouthwash that is advertised on TV. Fudge is very big on commercials. He's memorized all of them, and when he goes to the supermarket, he drives us up the wall, reciting his dumb jingles about why we should buy this product instead of that one. My father spends his mornings at the university library and works at home in the afternoons. How's the book coming? I asked him one day when I got home from school. Slowly, Peter, he said. Very slowly. I'm still gathering information. I hope to finish my research by Christmas and start the actual writing after the holidays. Fudge stood in the doorway, nibbling a piece of cheese. Dr. Seuss can write a book in an hour, he said. How do you know that? I asked. I don't, but I'll bet you he can, Fudge said. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do. I like them, Sam I am. Okay, that's enough, I said. Boys, I'm trying to work now, Dad said. Do you think you could move to another room? Later, we were watching the 6 o'clock news when Fudge's favorite commercial came on the air. Oh, look, he said, it's the dancing cats. And he put down his Lego bricks and watched. Everybody knows that cats can't really dance, I told him. It's just a lot of fancy camera work. Shut up, PETA, he said. Then he turned to Dad. They have cat food commercials and dog food commercials and people food commercials, so how come they don't have bird food commercials? That's a good question, Fudge, Dad said, without really answering it. Mina birds of the world unite, I began, trying to think up a clever commercial for bird food. What's unite? Fudge asked. Never mind. You sound like Uncle Feathers when you say things twice, Fudge said. It's contagious, I told him. What's contagious? Forget it, I said. We should feed Uncle Feathers Choco, Fudge said. If you give it to the one you love first thing in the morning, you don't have to worry the rest of the day. It has 45 vitamins. No, I said. That's not it. It's fortified with vitamins. That's what I said. 45 vitamins. Not 45, I told him. Fortified. And I spelled it for him. Fortified. It means that vitamins have to be added. It does? Fudge asked. Yes, I said. And anyway, you shouldn't believe everything you see on TV. Right, Dad? That's right, Dad said. You lie when you make up commercials? Fudge asked. No, but sometimes we exaggerate, Dad said. What's exaggerate? Fudge asked. We embellish to make our point. Dad said. What's embellish? Sometimes Dad has to stretch the truth, I explained. Thank you, Peter, Dad said. That was a very good way of putting it. How do you know so much, PETA? Partly because I'm in 6th grade, and partly because I'm naturally smart, I answered. Then how come you got a 58 on your geography test? Fudge asked. Because Mr. Bogner tricked us with matching questions. What's matching questions? That's what teachers do to you to prove that you aren't as smart as you think, I said. You'll find out someday. But I am as smart as I think, Fudge said. So there. I wasn't about to get into an argument over that one. On Friday afternoon, Alex and I were downstairs. We stopped off at the movie theater to have a look at the display of Superman photos. I had already seen Superman in New York, but Alex had missed it. So we decided that when it came to town, we'll try to go and see it together. Next to the movie theater was an art gallery. There was something familiar about one of the paintings in the window. It was all white with 2 black circles in the middle and a red square in the upper left-hand corner. I know that painting, I said to Alex. It doesn't look like much to know, Alex said. I snapped my fingers. That's a Frank Fargo painting. Alex shrugged. Who's Frank Fargo? My friend's father. I was over when he was working on it. I said, let's go in. The only other person in the gallery was a very tall, skinny woman with a neck like a giraffe's and the most curly hair that I'd ever seen. She was really good looking. I liked the way she walked, with her head high and her back straight. Hello, what can I do for you? She asked us. We were wondering about the painting in the window, I said. The one with the circles. It's called Anita's Anger, she said, and it's by Frank Fargo. I told you, I said to Alex, who didn't seem that interested. I know him, I said to Giraffe Neck. He's my friend's father. Really? She asked. Yes. How much does it cost? Alex asked. $2,500, she told him. What? Alex said. For that? Yes, he's becoming quite famous. But that's nothing, Alex argued. I'll bet I could paint the same thing in an hour. Just like Dr. Seuss can write a book in an hour, I muttered. What's that got to do with it? Alex asked. Nothing. Forget it. It may look simple, she said, but I assure you, it takes a lot of talent to paint that way. That night, I asked my parents if they knew that Frank Fargo was becoming famous. Yes, Dad said. Didn't you? No, nobody ever told me. Nobody ever tells me anything. Mom and I considered one of his paintings. It's in the gallery downtown. That white thing with the black circles and the red square? I asked. That's the one, Dad said. Do you like it? I don't know, I said. It sure does cost a lot. That's the problem, Dad said. But now that I'm going back to work, Mom began, looking up from her needlepoint. You're going where? I said. Back to work, she told me. I've been offered a part-time job by Dr. Monroe, a dentist in town. I thought you were sick of teeth, I said. I thought you wanted to study art history. Art history will have to wait, Mom said. For now, I've decided to be more practical. I looked at Dad. It's because of the book, I thought. That stupid book. You wouldn't have to be practical if Dad was president of the advertising agency, would you? Peter! Mom sounded angry. That's not a very thoughtful thing to say. I didn't care if she felt angry, because I did too. It's all right, Anne, said Dad. I think I know what Peter's getting at. He'd like me to be president of the agency, right, Peter? Well, sure. Who doesn't want his father to be president? But I don't want to be president of the agency, Dad said. And you've got to try to understand that. I do want to write my book, though. And sometimes you've got to do what's really important to you, even if it's not practical. And I never said I was sick of teeth, Mom told me. I said I wanted to think about a change in careers. So I'm thinking. It would be nice to have a job again, and if Daddy weren't at home writing his book, I wouldn't be able to leave Tootsie. So it's all working out. You see? No, I said. Everything is different. What do you mean? Dad asked. I don't know. Just everything. Mom going back to work, you writing a book, us living here, Tootsie being born, Fudge going to kindergarten, me in 6th grade. Everything is different. And you don't like it? Mom asked. Is that what you're trying to say? I don't know if I do or if I don't. Changes take some getting used to, Dad said, but in the long run, they're healthy. I didn't feel like listening anymore, so I said, Can I call Jimmy tonight? Sure, Dad said, go ahead. Jimmy answered the phone. Hey, how's it going? He asked. I could tell that he was eating something. I don't know, I told him. Everything's different. I can't get used to it. Well, everything's the same around here, except that you're gone. He must have swallowed because his voice cleared. He told me about school and about our friends and about the way Sheila Tubman is telling the whole world how much she misses me. And then he said, Peter, I have a confession to make. What's that? I've been using your rock. Not just sitting on it, but using it. I know, excuse me, you know what I mean? It's okay, I said. Don't worry about it. No kidding? No. You're a great friend, you know that? A really great friend. Well, I have a confession to make too, I said. I've been using my Criskin's crystal. Not just looking at it, but using it to get to sleep at night. Oh, he said. So I guess we're even? I asked. I guess so, but he didn't sound as if I were the world's greatest friend anymore. I saw a painting by your father today, I told him, ready to change the subject. The white one with the black circles and the red square. Oh, that one, he said. My father painted that one right before my mother left for Vermont. The night that they had this big fight and she threw red paint on the canvas. That's how the red square got there, and that's why it's called Anita's Anger. I didn't know what to say because Jimmy never talks about his parents' divorce. So I changed the subject again. Do you know how much it costs? $2,500. Can you believe that anybody would pay that much for it? Shows how much you know about art, Peter. It sounded as if he had something in his mouth again. Pretzels? I thought. My father's last 3 paintings were sold for over $2,000 a piece. So before you go around opening your fat mouth, you should find out what you're talking about. And he hung up. Great. Just what I needed. My best friend hanging up on me. He'll probably call back in 10 minutes, I thought. But he didn't. I waited until Halloween afternoon to call him. It's me, I said. I'm sorry. About what? He asked. You know, about the price of your father's paintings. Oh, that. It just so happens that my parents are thinking about buying it. Which one? You know, Anita's Anger. Oh, that one. You should tell them to buy a different painting. Anita's Anger is a ripoff. Even my father says so. But you said, I know what I said. For a minute, neither one of us spoke. Finally, I asked, so, what are you doing for Halloween? The usual, he said. Nothing. How about you? I'm taking Fudge trick-or-treating. How'd you get roped into that? I volunteered. You volunteered? I think he was chewing gum this time. You weren't kidding when you said everything's changed. He was chewing gum. I could tell he was blowing a bubble, and I thought I heard it pop when the bubble broke. My mother and father were surprised when I told them I'd take Fudge trick-or-treating too. But Alex said he'd come with me as long as he didn't have to walk next to Fudge or hold his hand crossing the street or anything gross like that. Besides, we planned to take him out early, bring him home, and then go out by ourselves. And I know how badly he wanted to go with us, and not with Mom or Dad like all the other kindergarten babies. Alex called me at 6:30, and when I saw him, I couldn't believe it. He was wearing a costume, a sheet decorated with black circles and one red square. I'm Anita's Anger, he said. You like it? He turned around a couple times, holding his arms out. It's different, I said. What are you? He asked. Me? I said. I was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt and the same clothes I wore to school that day. He's a 6th grader, Fudge said. And Tootsie's a baby, and Turtle's a dog, and Mommy's a mommy, and Daddy's a daddy, and I'm a scary ghost. Ooh! Fudge swept across the room. You mean you're not going to wear a costume? Alex asked. Not even a mask? Well, sure I am, I said. It's upstairs. Wait a minute and I'll go get it. I raced up the stairs and found Mom changing Tootsie. Where's Fudge's disguise? I asked her. She looked blank. The one he sent away for, you know, the 4 cereal box tops and 25 cents? Oh, that disguise, Mom said, sprinkling baby powder on Tootsie's backside. I'm not sure. But Mom, I need it right away. So please try to remember. I thought you said you weren't dressing up this year. I changed my mind and Alex is downstairs waiting. Let's see, Mom said, let's see, Mom said, fastening Tootsie's clean diaper. It could be in with Fudge's toys. He's always likes playing with that disguise. Look in his closet in the red toy box. I ran down the hall to Fudge's room and threw open his closet door. The red toy box. Let's see, there it is. I dragged it out and rummaged through it. And there, at the very bottom, in a Pepperidge Farm cookie box, was the black eyeglass with rims attached to a rubber nose, and a stick-on beard and mustache. I also found an old hat that had once belonged to Grandfather Hatcher. I smoothed it out and put it on, along with Fudge's disguise. I checked myself in the bathroom mirror, then ran downstairs. That's mine! Fudge hollered when he saw me. I'm just borrowing it for a few hours. No, no, no! No? I said. Okay, then you don't get to go trick-or-treating with me and Alex. You can go with Daddy like all the other kindergarten babies. Goodbye. I flung off the glasses and rubber nose, tossed them aside, and acted like I was going to leave without him. No! He cried. Come back, Peter. Not unless I get to wear the disguise. Okay, you can wear it, but it's still mine, right? Yeah, sure, it's still yours. I looked over at Alex, who was shaking his head. Alex still can't figure out my family. We grabbed our UNICEF boxes and our pillowcases to hold our loot, and we left. We worked our way up one side of the street and then down the other. When we got close to Mrs. Muldour's house, Alex said, maybe she'll give us some worms for a treat. Worms? Fudge said. Yeah, Alex told him. She's very big on worms. So is Uncle Feather, Fudge said. Uncle Feather is a bird, I said. Why does everyone keep saying that? Fudge asked. I know Uncle Feather is a bird. He was quiet for a minute and then said, what does she do with her worms? You know, she eats them, Alex said. Really? Fudge asked me. We think so, I told him. We walked up the path to Mrs. Muldour's house, and Alex rang the bell. If she gives us worms, we can feed them to Uncle Feather, Fudge whispered. Shh, I told him. Mrs. Muldour opened the door. She was wearing a jogging suit. Well, 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 she said. What a cute little ghost. I'm not cute. I'm scary, Fudge told her. Ooh. Mrs. Muldour clutched at her chest. Oh my, you are a scary ghost. Hi, Mrs. Muldour, Alex said. Hello, Alex. That's an unusual costume you're wearing." "It's called Anita's Anger," Alex said. "I got the idea from a painting I saw downtown." Mrs. Mulder turned away from us and called, "Beverly! Beverly, come here! You've got to see this." Right away, I knew it was her. Giraffe neck. I knew before I could even see her face. I knew by the way she walked from one room, from the other room to the front door, and by her curly hair. "This is my daughter, Beverly," Mrs. Mulder said. Then she turned to Beverly and said, "Alex is dressed as a painting. Can you guess which one?" Beverly studied Alex for a minute. "Well, with the white background, the black dots, and the red square, it must be Anita's Anger." "Right," Alex said. I thought about telling Beverly about the night Jimmy's parents had had their big fight, and how Mrs. Fargo had dumped the red paint on Mr. Fargo's canvas, and how Mr. Fargo had named the painting Anita's Anger because Anita is Jimmy's mother. I thought about telling her the whole story, but then I remembered how I've told Jimmy things that I would not have told anyone else. And I know if I were Jimmy, I wouldn't want my best friend telling the whole world secrets about my family. "Do you really eat worms?" Fudge asked out of nowhere. I gave him a kick, but that didn't stop him. "Peter says you eat them all the time, and he knows everything because he's naturally smart, except for matching questions." Mrs. Mulder and Beverly looked at each other. Fudge continued, "So did you?" "Did we what?" Mrs. Mulder asked. "Eat worms for supper tonight." Alex let out a groan, and I could see our business going down the drain. Mrs. Mulder smiled at Fudge. "Yes, we did," she told him. Beverly added, "There's nothing like home-baked worms, and my mother's recipe is the best." "We eat them instead of cauliflower," Mrs. Mulder said. "We need to get our vitamins one way or the other." "Are your worms fortified?" Fudge asked. Alex groaned again. "My worms are naturally fortified," said Mrs. Mulder. "They're chock full of vitamins, no preservatives, nothing added, just the real thing." She was beginning to sound like a commercial for worms. I could hear the announcer saying, "Buy Mrs. Mulder's naturally fortified worms. They're chock full of vitamins. Grind them up in your favorite recipe. Blend them into your milkshake. Serve them instead of cauliflower for those special occasions." "Would you like to taste my special worm cookies?" Mrs. Mulder asked Fudge. "Yes," Fudge said, following her into the house. We marched through the house to the kitchen. On the counter was a big plate of cookies. "Fresh out of the oven," Mrs. Mulder said. "They look like chocolate chips," Fudge said. "They are," Mrs. Mulder told him. "Chocolate chip worm cookies." "Which part is the worm?" Fudge asked. Mrs. Mulder laughed. "You can't see the worms. I grind them up and mix them into the flour. Just like in my commercial," I thought. "Go on," Mrs. Mulder said, offering a plate of cookies to Fudge. "Take one." Fudge chose a cookie and held it up to his lips, but he hesitated, and I could see that he wasn't sure he really wanted to taste a chocolate chip worm cookie after all. Beverly took one and shoved it in her mouth all at once. She said, "These are really good, Mother." She took another one and ate it quickly, too. Then she brushed the crumbs off her hands. Fudge bit into his cookie. He chewed it up very slowly. "It's good," he said. "You can't even taste the worms." Mrs. Mulder offered the plate to Alex and me, and we each took a cookie. Fudge asked if he could have another, and Mrs. Mulder said she'd do one better than that. She wrapped a little package of cookies for him to take with him. When we got home, Fudge dumped out his pillowcase on the dining room table. He arranged his loot in stacks and counted everything. 11 M&Ms, 7 Nestle Crunch, 5 Hershey's without almonds, 3 with, 2 Milky Ways, 1 granola bar, 4 apples, and 6 worm cookies. "What did you say?" Mom asked him. Nothing, Mom," I told her. "He didn't say anything. Did you, Fudge?" "Here, Mommy," Fudge said. "Have a cookie. Mrs. Mulder just baked them." "Thank you," Mom said. She tasted it. Very good. I wonder where she got her recipe." "It's been in her family for a long time," I said. "And they're naturally fortified with I didn't give him a chance to finish. No preservatives, no additives, naturally fortified and chock full of vitamins. Right, Fudge? Right, PETA, he said, smiling, and I knew that he understood. Okay, ready, guys? We are going to start with Chapter 9. This is called Superfudge. Fudge has a friend. His name is Daniel. He's pudgy with a lot of red hair and ears that stick out more than mine. The first time I saw him, he was standing in front of Uncle Feather's cage, lecturing to Fudge. Myna birds are native to India and other parts of Asia. The common house myna is a bold, fearless bird, somewhat larger than a robin. Robin? Robin? Uncle Feather repeated. Shh, shut up and listen, Fudge told Uncle Feather. Don't you want to learn about yourself? Daniel continued. The myna is a noisy, sociable bird. I'll say, I said from the doorway, where I'd been listening. Daniel turned around and stared at me. Who are you? He asked. Peter, Fudge's older brother, I told him. Who are you? Daniel Mannheim. I'm 6. I live at 432 Vine Street. You want to make something of it? He delivered the last sentence in a tough guy voice, so that it came out sounding like, you want to make something of it? Not especially, I told him, trying not to laugh. Daniel turned back to Uncle Feather. Many myna birds learn to imitate the human voice. They can talk, sing, and whistle. Daniel is a bird expert, Fudge said. So I see, I answered. You want to hear about the vulture? Daniel asked. Some other time, I told him. Daniel came for lunch on Saturday. Would you like peanut butter or tuna fish? Mom asked him. Tuna fish, Daniel said. You want to make something of it? No, Mom said, looking surprised at Daniel's tough guy line. Tuna fish will be just fine. Where's the TV? Daniel asked. I always watch TV while I'm eating. It's in the living room, Fudge said. You don't have a TV in your kitchen? Daniel asked. No, Mom said, we don't. I feel sorry for you, Daniel said, pushing back his chair. He stood up. I guess I'll have my lunch in the living room. We don't watch TV while we're eating, Mom said. So why don't you sit down and wait until lunch is ready? Daniel pouted. I won't have much of an appetite without the TV. If you're not hungry, you don't have to eat, Mom said. TV shouldn't have anything to do with it. I was thinking that it wouldn't hurt this kid to skip a couple meals anyway. I watched The Muppet Show, Sesame Street, The Electric Company, Fudge said, as if anybody cared. And all the commercials. I never miss the commercials. They're my favorite. My father used to write commercials, but now he's writing a book. One time, I was in a commercial. I rode a toddle bike. No, you didn't, Daniel said. I did too, Fudge told him. I don't believe you, Daniel said. Mom brought the tuna fish sandwiches and 2 glasses of milk out to the table. I don't eat anything with onions, Daniel said. I don't eat lima beans or peas. I only drink chocolate milk and cut off the crust of my bread. There are no onions, lima beans, or peas in tuna fish, she said. I knew from her voice that she was about ready to tell Daniel exactly what he could do with his lunch if he didn't like it. But she walked back to the pantry and brought out the Choco. You can put as much as you like. Put in as much as you like, she said, and she cut the crust off Daniel's sandwich. There. Now you should be all set. Wasn't I in a commercial, Mommy? Fudge said. Yes, Mom said. Fudge was in a toddle bike commercial. See, I told you. Did you get paid? Daniel asked. I don't know, Fudge said. Did I get paid, Mommy? I wasn't there, Fudgy, remember? I was visiting Aunt Linda and the new baby in Boston. Oh, that's right, Fudge said. So he asked me, did I get paid, PETA? You got all the Oreos you could eat, I said. I got Oreos, Fudge told Daniel. I hate Oreos, Daniel said. On the same day that Daniel was eating his tuna fish sandwich without onions, peas, lima beans, or crust, Tootsie learned to crawl. One minute she was just rocking back and forth on all fours, and the next minute she was moving across the floor. Mom ran to get Dad, and he raced upstairs for the camera, and the rest of the day we took home movies. Tootsie was the star. Only Daniel was unimpressed. All babies crawl, he said. After a week of crawling, Tootsie became an expert. She could move so fast, it was hard to keep up with her. Not only that, but she learned to pull herself up in a standing position. You couldn't leave anything around anymore. Whatever she found went straight into her mouth. And she found everything, from crayons to spools of thread, from Lego bricks to Dad's notebook. She chewed up 3 pages of his notes one afternoon, and it took Dad all night to try to glue them back together. Mom and Dad decided to baby-proof the house. They removed everything that Tootsie could possibly reach. Tootsie was very pleased with herself. She said, "Oga buffuck fum 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 fum." Turtle learned to crawl too. He moved across the floor, flat on his belly, and Tootsie would chase him, laughing. Turtle and Tootsie were friends. I kept the door to my room closed at all times. I wasn't taking any chances. Dad put up a gate at the top of the stairs and another at the bottom. You had to be careful not to step on Tootsie. She was always underfoot. "Put her in the playpen," Fudge wailed one afternoon after she had gotten into his Legos and scattered them. "She needs the freedom to explore," Dad explained. "Well, too bad if she gets in my way," Fudge said. "She'll just have to learn that I'm her big brother." And clunk, he stepped on her arm, and Tootsie screamed. On the following Saturday, Jimmy Fargo came to visit. "Wow, I can't believe how much the baby's grown," he said, when he saw Tootsie racing across the living room floor. "When you moved, she was about the same size as my cat, and now she's a regular baby." "Puda, Puda," Tootsie said, pulling herself up on my legs. "What's she saying?" Jimmy asked. "Nothing, just baby talk," I told him. Jimmy was even more impressed with Uncle Feather than he was with Tootsie. "Wow, that's some bird," Jimmy said. "He speaks French. Say, bonjour," I told Jimmy. "Bonjour, birdie," Jimmy said. "Bonjour, stupid," Uncle Feather answered. I laughed. Jimmy didn't. "Hey, Turkey Brain, my name's Jimmy. Can you say that?" "Jimmy." "Say that. Say that." "No, Dumbo, it's Jimmy." "Dumbo Jimmy, Dumbo Jimmy." "No, it's just plain Jimmy. Plain Jimmy, plain Jimmy." "I give up, you turkey brain." "Turkey, turkey, Jimmy Turkey." "Stop it," Jimmy shouted. "Stop it, stop it." I quit. "Quit, quit, quit?" Jimmy finally laughed. "Some bird." Alex came over to meet Jimmy. He said, "So, you're the great Jimmy Fargo." "Who said I was great?" Jimmy asked. "Well, the way Peter's always talking about you." "Yeah, well, the way he's always talking about you, I figure you must be the great Alex Santo." "I am," Alex said. "Well then, I'm the great Jimmy Fargo." After that, it was downhill all the way. It's hard to be caught in the middle between your two best friends. I think Mom knew I was having a hard time because she said, "How would you boys like to go to the movies this afternoon?" "What's playing?" Jimmy asked. "Superman," Mom said. "I already saw it," Jimmy said. "So did I said, "but I wouldn't mind seeing it again." "I saw it twice," Jimmy said. "I never even saw it once," Alex said. "It was better the second time," said Jimmy. "And I'll bet it will be better the third time, too," Mom said. "Okay," Jimmy said, "I'll go." He bent down to tie his shoelaces. Mom said, "Wonderful, and the 3 of you can take Fudge and Daniel." I had a quick conference with Alex and Jimmy. "I don't care if Fudge comes with us as long as I don't have to sit next to him," Jimmy said. "Same for me," Alex said, "and I won't sit next to the other one either. The other one is a nerd." "Same for me," Jimmy said. I went back to Mom. "Okay, we'll take them, but we won't sit next to them." "That's reasonable," Mom said. "It's a deal," I told Alex and Jimmy. Excuse me. We walked into town. We were too early to buy tickets, so we showed Jimmy his father's painting in the window of the gallery. "I dressed up as Anita's anger for Halloween," Alex said. "My costume was outstanding, if I do say so myself." "You don't think you're too great, do you?" Jimmy said. "I'm just telling the truth," Alex said. "I can't believe this guy," Jimmy whispered to me. "He's usually not like this," I whispered back. I never should have gotten the 2 of them together, I thought. They really couldn't stand each other, and they were making me miserable. "Hey, let's go in and introduce Jimmy to Beverly," I said, trying to sound cheerful. Beverly greeted us. "Well, if it isn't Alex and Peter and Fudge. And Daniel Mannheim." Daniel said. I'm 6, and I live at 432 Vine. Glad to meet you, Daniel, Beverly said. And this is Jimmy Fargo, I told Beverly. You know, Fargo. Frank's son, Beverly asked. That's right. I just love your father's paintings, Beverly said. They're so original. He's working on a new one, Jimmy said. It's called Salamis on Parade. Sounds fantastic, or sounds fascinating, Beverly said. My father likes salami, Jimmy said. Salami and onion sandwiches are his favorite. I don't eat anything with onions, Daniel said. We know, I said. Salami and onions, Jimmy said. My father could just about live on salami and onions. Beverly laughed. I'll bet he doesn't do much kissing. That's right, Jimmy said. My mother was the one who likes kissing. That's why she moved to Vermont. Well, Beverly said, I'd certainly like to meet your father someday. Maybe we can arrange that, I said, thinking that Beverly and Mr. Fargo might really like each other. And Jimmy must have been thinking the same thing, because he said, he doesn't eat salami and onions every day. On Sundays, he likes lox and eggs. I don't eat anything with onions or lima beans or peas, Daniel said. I hate crust on my bread, and I only drink chocolate milk. You're a fussy eater, Beverly said. That's right, Daniel said. You want to make something of it? No, Beverly said. I certainly don't. We have to go now, I said. We're going to see Superman. Have a good time, Beverly called. I wondered if anybody ever went into the gallery besides us. I'd never seen a customer in there. Outside, a line had formed in front of the movie theater. As we were walking to the end of it, I spotted Joanne McFadden. She was there with Sharon, who was always looking at the ground or the sky, and Elaine, who likes to punch guys in the stomach. I guess Joanne spotted me too, because she called, Peter, and waved me over to her. Give me your money and I'll buy your tickets, she said. That way you won't have to stand at the end of the line. Mom had given me enough to treat Alex, Jimmy, and Daniel, so I passed the bill to Joanne and stood right behind her. Right behind her. When the wind blew, her hair hit me in the face, and I didn't move, even though it tickled my nose. Well, Elaine said, after we had our tickets, aren't you going to introduce us to him? She nodded in Jimmy's direction. Oh, sure. Jimmy, meet Elaine, Sharon, and Joanne. Jimmy looked at Sharon for a long time. Sharon looked at the sky. I'm Daniel Mannheim, the little creep said. I'm 6, and I live at 432 Vine Street. That's nice, Elaine said. And who are you? She asked Fudge. Fudge Hatcher. Your little brother? Joanne asked me. Uh-huh. I never knew you had such an adorable little brother. Joanne had never said so many words to me at once. Fudge smiled. Adorable, that's me. And I'm Daniel Mannheim. I'm 6. We know, Elaine said. You want to make something of it? Daniel asked in his best tough guy voice. Yeah, Elaine said. Put 'em up. She made 2 fists and held them to Daniel's nose. Daniel started to cry. Don't hit me. Please don't hit me. I'm only 6. He covered his face with his hands. I'm not going to hit you, you doof, Elaine said. I only hit guys my own age. Right, Alex? And with that, she belted Alex in the gut. Cut it out, you... Alex shouted a lot of good words to Elaine. Daniel jumped up and down, singing. He said the A word. He said the A word. Shut up, Elaine said to Daniel, or I will slug you. You promised you wouldn't, Daniel whined. And I'm only 6, remember? Why don't you all cut it out, Sharon said, looking at the ground. We went inside and stopped at the candy counter to buy popcorn and Cokes. Then we found seats for the kindergarten babies and got them settled and crossed over to the other side of the theater where we found an empty row for the 6 of us. Alex went in first, then Jimmy, then me, then Joanne, Sharon, and Elaine. I wondered if Joanne had planned to sit next to me the same way I had planned to sit next to her. When the picture started, Joanne offered me some of her popcorn, and when I reached into the carton, our fingers touched. Then I offered her some of mine, so our fingers touched again. By that time, my fingers were covered with grease, but who cared? I began to relax, concentrating more on sitting next to Joanne than on the movie, but maybe that was because I'd already seen it. Then, right when Superman was about to kiss Lois Lane, I felt something icy cold slither down my back, and I let out a yelp. Fudge was hanging over the back of my seat with a handful of ice cubes from his coat. "Hi, PETA, you little..." But there was no way I could catch him. He was already racing back up the aisle. "Here," Joanne said, handing me a Kleenex. "Could you do it?" I asked. "I don't think I can reach all the way down my back." Joanne mopped off my neck and then my back, and when she finished, she put her hand close to mine, and the next thing I knew, we were holding hands. Hers were soft but cold. When the movie ended, Joanne, Sharon, and Elaine walked home in one direction, and we walked home in the other. "So, what's it like to be in love?" Alex asked me. "What are you talking about?" I said. "What are you talking about?" Alex mimicked. And Jimmy said, "So, when's the wedding?" "Cut it out, will you?" I said. By the time we got home, Alex and Jimmy were talking and laughing as if they'd been best friends for about 100 years, and I felt left out. Excuse me. Dad had cooked a big pot of spaghetti, and Daniel was eyeing it until Mom told him how many onions had gone into the sauce. Not only that, but Mom had fixed a bowl of peas as a side dish, and that was funny because we never had anything with spaghetti but bread and salad. "I don't eat anything with onions, and I don't eat peas either," Daniel said. "What else do you have?" "Nothing," Mom told him. "Then I guess I'll go home for supper," Daniel said. I thought I saw Mom smile. After supper, Alex went home to get his sleeping bag, and he and Jimmy both slept on the floor in my room. I wondered why I didn't feel better about the two of them being friends. Just because they liked each other didn't mean that they didn't like me, but I had a hard time convincing myself. For the next week, Fudge walked around talking to himself. To most people, he is Fudge Hatcher, a regular boy. Only his trusty Mina bird and his friend Daniel know the truth. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. "Do you remember when I was born?" he asked me one morning. "Yes." "Did I really grow inside of Mommy?" "Yes." "Oh," he said, sounding disappointed. "Why?" "Because if I did grow inside of Mommy, then I can't be from another planet." "Take it from me," I said, "you are definitely from Earth." A few days later, Daniel told Fudge that he had been adopted as a baby. "So Daniel might be from another planet," Fudge said. "Yeah," I thought, that would explain a lot. "And he might even be able to fly." "Don't count on it," I said. "Daniel is my best friend," Fudge said. "If he turns out to be from another planet, he's going to take me there to visit." "Swell," I told him. "Don't hurry back." "You're just jealous because you don't have a friend who can fly." "I don't even have a friend from another planet," I said. "Too bad for you, PETA." And he took off, flapping his arms and calling, "It's a bird! It's a plane!" All right, Chapter 10. Santa Who. My father signed up for 10 Chinese cooking lessons. He bought a wok, which is a big round pot, and 4 cookbooks. Most nights he would sit in front of the fire reading. "When you finish writing your book, maybe you can open a Chinese restaurant," I suggested. "I don't want to open a Chinese restaurant," Dad said, thumbing through the A to Z of Chinese cookery. I just mentioned that because Jimmy Fargo's father used to be an actor, and now he's a painter. So I thought maybe you were going from advertising to writing to cooking. "No," Dad answered. "Cooking will be a hobby for me, not a profession." "Oh," I said. Then I added, "I like to know what's going on, and sometimes you forget to tell me." "Nothing's going on," Dad said. He flipped through a couple of pages and then turned to Mom. "What do you think about making this for tomorrow night? Stir-fried chicken with green onions, mushrooms, water chestnut, nuts, and a touch of ginger." "Sounds good to me," Mom said. "Cocoa and animal crackers sound good to me," Fudge said. He'd been very quiet tonight, stretched out on the floor with a pad of paper and a fat green crayon. "Anyone else for cocoa and animal crackers?" Mom asked. getting out of her favorite chair and yawning. Me, I called. Make it unanimous, Dad said. What's unanimous? Fudge asked. It's when everyone agrees, I explained. Everyone agrees, Fudge repeated. That's nice. And I like it when everyone agrees. What are you so busy drawing? I asked. I'm not drawing. I'm writing. What are you writing? A letter to Santa. It's a little early, I asked, since we're still eating leftover turkey from Thanksgiving. It's never too early, Fudge said. Where'd you hear that one? I asked. From Grandma, he said. I thought so. That makes it, unanimous, Fudge said. Hey, Dad, I said. I wish you'd think twice before you use big words in front of him. Now he's messing up another one. Messing, Fudge babbled. It must be pretty hard to write a letter when you can't even write, I said to him, chuckling. I can write. Since when? Since I was born. Very funny. Just because you never see me write doesn't mean I can't. Right, Dad? Good reasoning, Fudge, Dad said. Let me see that letter, I said, suddenly wondering if the kid really did know how to write. Maybe he is some kind of genius and my parents don't want me to find out because I'm just a regular kid, I thought. Maybe they already know that he's going to skip first and second grades. Worse yet, maybe he's going to skip all of elementary and wind up in 7th grade next year with me. Worse than that, maybe he's going to be one of those kids who goes off to college at 12. There will be stories about him in all of the news magazines, and people will say to me, Hatcher, that sounds familiar. Aren't you that by chance related to that child genius, Fudge Hatcher? Are you? And I'll have to admit, yeah, he's my little brother. And they'll scratch their heads and say, wow, too bad some of it didn't rub off on you. Then they'll laugh and walk away. I reached over and grabbed Fudge's letter. I looked at it very carefully. It's just scribbling, I said, feeling relieved. It is not, Fudge said. Santa's never going to be able to read this, I told him. He'll read the important part. There's only one word that makes sense, I said. Bike. That's the important part, Fudge told me, grabbing his letter back. I'll help you write a real letter, I said. This is a real letter. I'll help you write one that goes along with this one, just in case Santa has trouble understanding what you want. I could see Fudge thinking over my offer. When he's thinking hard, he scrunches up his lips and looks like a monkey. Okay, he said, and he passed me the green crayon and a fresh piece of paper. I'll tell you what to say. He stood over me and began to dictate. Dear Santa, please bring me a 2-wheeler bicycle. It should be red, just like Peeta's. Come on, I said. Be original. Ask for a blue bike or a yellow one. Red, he repeated, just like Peeta's. And no training wheels. Training wheels are for babies. He paused. Go on. That's all. I'm finished. I can sign my own name. He printed Fudgy in the big letters at the bottom of the page. Aren't you going to write your last name too? I asked. No. Suppose Santa gets mixed up. He won't. How do you know? There aren't any kids named Fudge. But just in case, I'll put an H after my name. That way he'll be sure. Mom came back from the kitchen carrying a tray, and we all spread out on the floor and had cocoa and cookies. I'll mail your letter tomorrow, Dad told Fudge. Do you know Santa's address? Fudge asked. Yes, Dad said. What is it? I can't remember, but I have it in my file, Dad said, and he and Mom smiled at each other. Daniel is asking for a bicycle too, Fudge reported 2 mornings later, so we'll be able to ride to school together. If Santa brings you a bike, I reminded him. Why wouldn't he? I'm a good boy. Aren't I a good boy, Mommy? I didn't wait for my mother to answer. There are a lot of kids who can't get what they want, even if they deserve to get it. There are a lot of kids who... Why can't they get what they want? Fudge asked. Because toys and bicycles cost money, I said. So Santa doesn't have to pay? That's not exactly how it works, I said, gulping down my milk. And how does it work? I asked Mom or Dad. They'll tell you. I gathered my books and zipped up my jacket. How does it work? Fudge asked. Hurry up, Fudgy, Mom said, avoiding his question. You'll be late for school. When I got home that afternoon, I cornered my mother. I don't think it's a good idea for him to go on believing in Santa. He thinks you can get whatever you want by just asking. He doesn't know about people who can't afford to buy presents. You should do something about that. After all, you told him where babies come from. How can a kid know where babies come from and not know about Santa? I don't see what one thing has to do with the other, Mom said, but I do agree that sooner or later he'll have to learn. She sighed. But for now, he's so enthusiastic and Santa is so lovely that Daddy and I have decided that it can't possibly hurt. So please go along with us for a while, Peter. I suppose you're going to tell Tootsie all about Santa too. I suppose so, Mom said. Well, I think it's a mistake, I said. I turned and walked away. I couldn't remember ever having believed that. When I was 3, I caught my parents stacking presents under the tree. And by the time I was 5, I knew exactly where to look for my presents that my parents had thought they had carefully hidden. And this year, I already knew that I was getting a pocket calculator from Grandma and a clock radio from my parents. I heard Mom and Grandma discussing it on the phone last week. Sometimes I think it would be more fun to be surprised on Christmas morning. I wish my family would try harder to keep secrets from me. That night, after Tootsie had been put to sleep, Fudge got after the rest of us to write our letters to Santa. The early bird catches the worm, he said. Who told you that, Uncle Feather? I asked, laughing. No, Mrs. Mulder, Fudge answered seriously. He handed each of us a pencil and a piece of paper. Only 3 weeks to go, he said. Then he danced around singing. He's making a list and checking it twice. Going to find out who's naughty or nice. Santa, who is coming to town. Santa who? I said. Santa Claus, he laughed, clapping his hands. Get it? It's a joke. I say who, and then you say Santa who, then I say Santa Claus. Get it? Yeah, sure, I get it. Isn't that a good joke? Yeah, great. Daniel taught it to me. I'm not surprised. Fudge put his hands on his hips. Now, hurry up and write your letter to Santa, he said. Rather than argue, we wrote our letters. I knew what was coming next. Now, everybody reads their letters out loud. You first, Peter. I looked over at Mom and Dad. They nodded their heads, encouraging me. So I read my letter, feeling like a kindergarten baby for the first time in a long time. Sorry. Dear Santa, please bring me one or more of the following items. A radio clock, a pocket calculator, a stereo for my room, 6 albums, and a radio-controlled model airplane. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Peter W. Hatcher. How will Santa know which 6 albums? Fudge asked. He can just leave me a gift certificate. That way he won't have to waste time trying to figure it out. Oh, I didn't know Santa could leave gift certificates. Santa can leave anything he feels like leaving, I said. Fudge accepted that and said, Now you, Mommy. When Mom and Dad finished reading their letters to Santa, Fudge said, What about Grandma? I'm sure she's making her list, Mom said. What about Tootsie? Tootsie's too young to write to Santa, I said. Then you write for her, Fudge said, shoving another piece of paper at me. Do I have to do this? I asked. It would be nice, Peter, Mom told me. All right. Dear Santa, please bring me a teddy bear and a pull toy and a box of Zwieback, Fudge said. And that's enough for her. She's just a baby. She doesn't know anything. Fudge was quiet for a minute. Then he said, What about Turtle? Oh, come on. This is getting ridiculous, I said, and I have homework. But he ripped another piece of paper from his pad. Dear Santa, I wrote, please bring me a rubber ball, some dog biscuits, and a new collar. Yours truly, Turtle Hatcher. I folded the letter, handed it to Fudge, and said, I'm not going to write one for Uncle Feather. Fudge laughed. Uncle Feather can write his own. Daniel came over the next afternoon. Did you write to Santa yet? I asked. I'm Jewish, Daniel said. I don't believe in that stuff. Oh, I thought Fudge said you asked for a bicycle for Christmas. I celebrate Hanukkah, and I did ask for a bicycle. Who'd you ask? My mother and father. Who do you think? I thought maybe you had a Hanukkah fairy or something. You're really stupid, Daniel said, shoving a handful of pretzels into his mouth. Thanks, Daniel. Coming from you, that's a compliment. You're welcome, Daniel said, and he walked away mumbling, Hanukkah fairy. Our class had a holiday party on the day before vacation with Christmas cookies and island punch, and I didn't drink any of it this time, not even one cup, even though I was thirsty. No point in taking chances. We each got to pull a silly present out of a grab bag. I got a pair of red plastic lips. Mr. Bogner brought in a sprig of mistletoe and asked us what we knew about it. Alex raised his hand and said, If you get caught standing under it, you might get kissed. Anything else? Mr. Bogner asked. Elaine said, If you want to get kissed, you should try standing under it. Anything else that isn't related to kissing? Mr. Bogner asked. No one answered. Well then, I think you should know that mistletoe is a plant which grows as a parasite on the trunks of trees. Birds eat the shiny white fruits called berries, and then these berries are poisonous to man. Early European people used mistletoe as a ceremonial plant. That probably explains why we tend to use it at Christmas time. While he was talking, he walked to the back of the room and hung the sprig of mistletoe near the coat closet. Later, when the bell rang, I ran to get my coat. I found myself standing next to Joanne under the mistletoe. We looked at each other. Then she leaned over and kissed my face way back near my ear. As soon as she did, she turned bright red, and for a minute, I thought she was going to cry, but she didn't. So then I gave her a kiss in the same spot, only she moved her head at the last second, and I wound up with a mouthful of her hair. On Christmas morning, Fudge woke the rest of us up before 6 o'clock. I got it! I got it! I got it! He shrieked. A big red bicycle without training wheels. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Santa, wherever you are. We all ran downstairs to open our presents. Turtle got everything on his list, and so did Tootsie, but she preferred the wrapping paper and ribbons to anything else. Besides my calculator and clock radio, I also got a surprise. A gift certificate for 2 albums. At 7:30, Mom whipped up a batch of pancakes, and at 10 o'clock, Dad fell asleep on the living room sofa, and Mom conked out right on the floor. That night, Fudge came to my room. I was sitting up in bed, reading the instruction manual that had come with my clock radio. Will you teach me to ride my bicycle? He asked. Sure, I told him, as soon as the snow melts. Daniel said he's going to learn to ride on the grass. That's crazy. If you fall off your bike in the street, you can get hurt, Fudge said. So you'll get a few scraped knees. Scraped knees bleed, don't they? Sometimes, I said. I don't like to bleed. Don't worry. Did you get scraped knees when you were learning to ride? A couple times, I said. You don't fall that much, believe me. I believe you. He climbed up on my bed and lay back against the pillow. Santa didn't bring you everything you wanted, did he? I didn't expect him to. I would have gotten you a stereo, but I didn't have that much money. I didn't expect a stereo. I was just kidding around. Me too, Fudge said. What do you mean? I asked. All that Santa stuff. I put down my instruction manual and looked at him. What do you mean, all that Santa stuff? I know. Since when do you know? Since always. You don't believe in Santa? I asked. He laughed. No, not ever. Then why? Because Mommy and Daddy think I believe, so I pretend. You pretend? You mean that all those letters and all that... He smiled at me. Aren't I a great pretender? Yeah, I said. You're the best. Oh, excuse me, guys. Whew, my voice is about had it after that. That is the end of our reading for tonight. And again, that was chapters 8, 9, and 10 of Judy Blume's Superfudge. And it was, again, read with permission from Yearling Books, which is a part of Random House Books. Sorry. Whew. All right, guys, if you will join me right back here on the library's Facebook page at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we will read the last 2 chapters, 11 and 12, of Superfudge. And we'll wrap up this week's book, okay? All right, guys, it was so good to see you tonight, and I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you right back here tomorrow night. Okay, guys, bye.